No.
So OSR stands for Old School Renaissance or Old School Revival. And that's basically people taking, White Box or AD&D or D&D First Edition as like their template and then just making games out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so this Dolmenwood falls into that category. The system I played for a long time, like from 2019 to basically 2022, was a game system called Lamentations of the Flame Princess. And that's weird horror. So that one is also OSR, where it's the same. But I think that one is closer to White Box D&D because if memory serves, White Box D&D had a roll under system.
Okay.
Yeah, so instead of meeting the target number and going above it, you went towards the number 1. So that way you never exceeded 20. Everything was always within 20 or within 6.
Wait, I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so you know how in like regular Dungeons and Dragons, you can have things that exceed 20? So like a DC 25 to, whatever, snipe the dragon in his eye.
Yeah, you have to roll over the difficulty class.
Right. So as my understanding goes, in White Box D&D, everything was within 20. So in order to do that, the closer to 1 you got, the harder things became.
Okay. Yeah, so it's like an inverse of how we commonly think of things.
Yeah, but from what I heard, the reason why they changed that to what is the common way now is because it wasn't fulfilling to level up the way that rolling big numbers and getting big numbers is fulfilling.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Cameron Miles, what's up?
How's it going?
Just chilling.
Oh, shit.
And then another answer to your question, Ray, is in White Box D&D, they had races as classes, and that game had, oh, sweet. That game had what's called niche protection.
Uh-huh.
So what that meant was, like, the fighter was basically the only person who got a base attack bonus and whose skills increased. Their fighting skills increased as they leveled. The wizard was the only person who could cast magic. The cleric or holy man was the only person who could heal or banish undead or do damage to undead. The thief was the only person who could pick locks and find traps. So they call that niche protection because you needed an entire party to account for every danger. And then they also had like elves and dwarves and hobbits or halflings. They were their own class.
Oh.
Like the elf was a mixture between a fighter and a wizard. So they could fight pretty well and they could cast spells. The dwarf could like find traps and, they were good at being underground. And then the halfling was like good with nature.
Interesting. Yeah, because like White Box was based off of, and my only knowledge is like YouTube videos or whatever. But White Box was based off Chainmail, which is based off of like wargaming.
Yeah.
So like you used to have like whole squads and you had like armies to command.
Yeah, I actually watched this really interesting documentary not long ago called The Shadow. Hey, welcome. I forget exactly what it was called. It was like The Shadow of... you know what? Let me just find it. It's going to bug me. Hey, what's up? Kim Jimin.
What's going on?
How are you?
Fine, and you?
I love that movie. Oh, Ray, the movie's called The Secrets of Blackmore, the true history of Dungeons and Dragons.
Hmm.
And that one, it's about exactly what you're describing. These guys played these war games, these Napoleonic era war games. And then incrementally, like this was over like, I think a decade, maybe even longer. The guys, like one of the guy, Dan Arneson, he just started adding in things like, okay, you guys want to do some recon before the mission, and then now they're controlling one unit, like the general, and he's going around and they're like doing role play for the first time.
That's dope. You got a link?
I do.
Link it up.
It's on Amazon Prime, so I don't know if that...
The Amazon.
So I prepped these guys. Hey, welcome.
Hello.
I prepped them, but kind of got shot down. I wanted to share some more stories, some more D&D stories.
Why'd you get shot down?
It's like giving a presentation in front of the class. Some people don't like to do it if they're forced to. But yeah, I wanted to talk. Ben, were any of the stories we were reminiscing on, any of them stick out to you that you'd want to share? I mean,
I guess the blood and the chocolate stuff, or the
yeah. So we did a Blood in the Chocolate, which is a Lamentations of the Flame Princess written adventure. Well, I say Ben ran it. It was what, like a 2-shot, a 3-shot.
Yeah, it was like, yeah.
And basically what that is, it's like a twisted X-rated Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, that sounds dope.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. It was very brutal. And so Ben made these pre-gen characters for us, and he gave each of us like a flaw and like a desire and a goal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one I've mentioned before, where Cameron and I were paired up. I was like basically Cruella de Vil, and he was one of my minions. The whole time I'm thinking, man, we have the best synergy. We're getting along so well. And then come to find out at the very end, he had a curse where he had to do everything I told him. Oh no.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And actually, that's the Lorenzo Gibson voice I actually stole from the character Cameron did in that one.
Oh,
And
really?
I remember at some point you told Cameron to bite your ass, and he did. And that,
Yeah.
I think that was the first. That was like the first indicator. Like, wait a minute.
Hey.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
that's the other thing. Like, if you ate the chocolate, you started getting cannibalistic urges
Wow.
or something like that.
Yeah, all the candy had like, there was like a poison like roll chart, and they'd have like different effects. So I remember one of them was that like sweat smells like chocolate. So you, like when you smelled someone sweating, you like immediately got hungry for chocolate and wanted to eat them.
And one of the guys we played with, Berto, he got the Augustus Glump. If I remember correctly, he got the Augustus Glump thing, and he was like floating away and all this crazy shit.
Yeah, he got inflated, and then his voice got higher pitched.
Yeah, so he was doing like a Mickey Mouse impersonation the whole time.
I'm trying to remember Esteban's character, because his character was pretty funny too. I probably need to look at the guide again, but
I don't remember.
yeah, that was a crazy.
Ben, do you remember who Esteban was?
In that campaign?
Yeah.
Was he in that campaign?
I'm pretty sure he was. Didn't I try to
Yeah,
kill him and I failed? Like I tried pushing him into the river, the chocolate river, and I failed and I fell in or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a textbook example of how not to metagame. But Esteban did it very well because over the table, I announced I was going to attack him, but his character was aloof. Ray was telling me some crazy stories about his last D&D group.
Yeah. Yeah, one of our players, like, just as a dude hanging out, is very, like, he likes to lie all the time and say ridiculous things. But he wanted to play D&D when we were all doing this campaign I was trying to run. And so most of his turns, he would begin it with, like, nonsense. Like, it was the first roll, his first action in the campaign, and he's like, okay, my guy goes into the middle of the street, pulls down his pants, and starts jerking off. And I'm like,
What?
really? And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. But actually, I'm walking backwards, and I'm whistling. And I'm like, okay, dude, all right, next person. Like, what do you want to do? Yeah. So he would never react normally to, like, any kind of encounter. But then he would eventually, like, after saying the goofy one, he would give an actual turn. So I just started taking what he was saying and making that, because he was a warlock, I started making that his patron talking to him in his own mind and role playing it back to him. So it's like, oh, this child runs up to you with a letter, and he's like, I want to stab the child. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but you hear a voice in your head that says you need to stab that child. So what do you do now? You're the only person who's hearing it, and then move on to other people. So, like, make something out of it. I don't know. Otherwise, it's just weird, man. Come on.
Yeah, that's a pretty excellent way to handle that.
But I don't really have many more D&D stories because this is the most D&D I've ever played.
Well, hopefully we'll make some good stories, not horror stories.
Yes. Everybody seems like they're not going to have horror stories.
You know, I got to say,
us.
sometimes you might think that, and then suddenly somebody just does a fucking 180 on you. That's happened a couple of times.
I want to hear one of these instances of that happening.
Well, I told you in that last campaign I ran.
Chaos Crew.
Yeah, well, that guy was just weird the whole time. But I had one of my coworkers. He's like an old guy who played like the very original D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he asked to play. And for a while, he was a good player, but he kept slowly like trying to warp the game into old D&D. And then he just like flipped out and was like, ah.
And I think also, like, he just kind of, like, it was kind of a weird thing because the game we were playing, I think we were kind of borrowing, what was that, Veins of the Earth or whatever?
Yeah. I combined these two games called Veins of the Earth and Downcrawl and they're both about like mining and spelunking.
But Veins of the Earth specifically has like an insanity meter, and like depending on how insane you are, you see different things or hear different things, and so it's a big part of like how that game system works. And his coworker was a cleric, and he was like, basically every session he ended with like trying to cure our insanity, which is nice, you know. I mean, a cleric should do that, but also like the whole point of the game was to slowly become insane.
Yeah, and like you get hungry, so you're like, you know, becoming those things from the descent, but it's so incremental that you guys don't even notice it.
Yeah.
But we didn't get that far.
Yeah,
and I
got
totally
really offended when we started to go insane, like just a little bit. He's just like, "That's uncurable."
Yeah, and yeah, he was treating it like losing humanity in Cyberpunk Red, where he's just like, "Well, now my character is an NPC," and I'm like, "No, he's not."
This was also the one with the mushroom fish,
Yeah,
right?
Tell them about that.
There was some weird. There was some weird, like pool, and it had everything was mushrooms. This whole cave was like mushroom based, and the fish, including the fish, and so there were these like fish that were made out of mushrooms, and I just remember the coworker collecting all the fish. It felt like he was like giving us a sermon, but maybe he was because he was a cleric, but he was like blessing the fish. I feel like there was some like fish sharing, but I can't remember. Like it was just a weird.
Yeah,
it was a cool world.
Yeah, and it took him a while to, if he even did, maybe he just gave up. But he was like, "No, well, they're fish," and I'm like, "Well, no, they're mushrooms." He's like, "No, they have to be fish, or they're like they can't be anything other than fish." And I'm like,
"Yeah, I remember." He started to go into the biology of it, right? Like, because we just wanted to like cut it open, and inside it's like a mushroom. It's just a fish made of mushroom. But he was just like, "Oh, what about its organs? Are those made of mushroom too?" Yeah. Just like, no, it's a mushroom.
Yeah, I was like, dude, like there are like mushroom people, right? Like that's not hard. That's a fantasy trope. Like it's a little toad from Mario, and he was like, yeah. But for some reason, he couldn't. A fucking mushroom fish, he couldn't. And it's just like with the final boss that we encountered, the librarian. His whole shtick was he was always 3 feet behind you, but like they all at one point they thought there was a group of them behind each of them.
That was like, really cool.
I was like, no, you only see one guy and he's behind you. And they're like, well, I'm gonna go attack the guy behind Ben. I'm like, there's nobody behind Ben, but there's a guy behind you.
No, that was a super cool scene. We had like this dark library that we were trying to navigate, and we couldn't see it. But I remember like it was maybe a maze, maybe it was like a maze design or something. But we were trying to get through the library without something seeing us. We couldn't guess what it was. It was like some sort of creature that was hard to determine at first.
Yeah, I think by design it was always out of sight and always 3 steps behind you. So like,
okay,
move in.
Yeah, and also in that game, light is a currency. So yeah, you didn't want to waste that, and it draws everything to you.
I do have a question for Ray, I guess. The pine. Is there any interest? Do you have a specific interest in pine cones, or you just saw that in the?
I like to imagine that Cameron just was spending this whole week thinking Ray's obsessed with pine cones.
Hey, that is a legitimate question, because the only reason there was a mushroom forest is because Cameron has a mushroom phobia, so I had to put it in.
Mushroom phobia, interesting.
But the pine cone thing. He knows. Ryan knows and Ben know exactly why I'm laughing. But the pine cone thing is straight from The Hobbit, and I was like, I wonder if Ray just was interested in pine cones, but. There was the Hobbit movie. The Hobbit movie where Gandalf was like blowing into a pine cone, and he didn't do anything. He just blew into the pine cone.
And he got it on fire.
I always thought he whispered something to it. He whispered some sweet nothings, and it just got so shy that it just blushed and caught on fire.
Well, okay. A couple things. I gotta come clean. Now, so yeah, I just wanted the pine cone armor because it's more AC, and I knew I was gonna die if I really got hit by a good attack. I was confused when you guys were cracking up about pine cones and Gandalf. But yeah, in the Hobbit movie, I thought that was like a magic spell.
It was.
He was like whispering words of fire into a pine
But
cone.
like, but what the pine cone didn't do it. I need to rewatch it. But from what I remember, the
It
pine
just caught
cone.
on fire. Yeah, it
It,
just
it-
caught on fire.
it was like a grenade or something, wasn't it?
No, I
don't-
watched it.
it
again.
didn't even-
No, they were just on fire. They didn't blow up.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
damn.
all the things Gandalf can do.
Yeah.
He just is gonna like start a miniature fort. He didn't have to use magic for that if he wanted to set a pine cone on fire.
But I heard some dude break it down that like Gandalf is like that friend you play an RPG with who's already max level and has everything, and they're just like fucking around the whole time as you do your playthrough. So
The
that's
thing
why
is,
Gandalf will just like disappear.
Yeah, well, like the thing is in the Hobbit in the book, that scene it's just wolves. There's only wolves around, them, so
Ah.
they're trying to start a fire to scare the wolves away. And then
There are
Oh.
no goblins.
in the movie, it's like a whole goblin army. Then it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, why wouldn't Gandalf be like, I don't know, summoning a blizzard or some shit?
Yeah.
Something I thought, but then at the end, at the very end, after they've been walking for 1,000 miles, he like summons the eagles, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we can fly now." But like, I get that they had to like do the journey themselves, but they did. It was like very late on. He like summoned the eagles. He's like, "Oh, I know how we can get there." And I was like, "Really, Gandalf?"
Well, you see, again in the book, I think the eagles are just like flying around. The eagles, like that's where they live, and they saw a fire, so they came by to see what's
Oh,
up.
sweet.
And then like, oh, Gandalf, shit, yeah, we can.
Oh,
go-
Gandalf.
This
Okay.
is Gandalf knows the eagles.
Wow,
Yeah,
this
Gandalf
is like
Gandalf was
the
like an
eagle-
ancient spirit. Like all the wizards are like ancient spirit. Like everybody
Yeah.
knows them.
They're
Yeah.
not people.
They're basically
They're not just dudes.
archangels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also, Cameron, you
Mayor.
were in Tailspire.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm on Tailspire. I didn't log in yet. But now I feel like Ray just needs to have a whole MythBuster series about Cameron's phobias because he's apparently got got an answer for everything.
Side note: if we can make a spell, Ryan, perhaps that
Yeah.
you can whisper to a pine cone and make an exploding grenade. I think that would be cool
I'm
for
down.
somebody. Maybe we
mean,
can find it in a
I
spellbook
don't-
or something.
I don't think it'd be very cool for River.
I don't. Whispering to a pine cone and then having it blow up sounds like something that an elf would do.
As long as she's not wearing the armor when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get the incantation wrong, it just blows up any pine cone in the area.
That could be pretty cool too. Crash said he's going to be a little bit late. He was cooking dinner, but you guys want to do a quick recap? Or does anybody have any last minute D&D questions? Cameron, you
D&D or Dolmenwood questions?
Previous game questions?
Well, I was reading the player's handbook, and I guess this is maybe something we'll have to sort out after the dungeon, perhaps. But
hmm
like a backpack only holds 400 coins, but we
Yeah.
can carry like 1,600, right?
Yeah.
So all
You
of the
can carry
additional.
4 bags.
So we would need to get, okay, because I think I am, and maybe some other people might be, like over their coin limit. But I guess if we had the cart, we could just throw all the extra shit, or like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like I have shit to sell when we get back at town because I'm carrying too much, and I haven't been keeping track of weight until I've been filling out more of my character sheet.
And your character sheet, yeah, you
I'm
just
sorry.
posted it. Let me check it out.
There's some stuff that I still don't know the weight for, but yeah.
Oh, the tome, the wine, potions. Yeah, I'll say any of that small stuff like the potions are probably like 1 coin.
Okay.
The bottles of wine, I'm not sure. 5 coin. The cooking pots, oh, that's going to be a heavy one.
Yeah, I might end up throwing these to distract whatever the fuck just hurt us.
Yeah.
The tome, how much would the tome be?
Let's just... Cameron, actually, do you have a... Did I give you a weight for your book?
So I'm looking like a tinderbox is 10 coins. A dagger is 10 coins. Would the book be around the same kind of weight?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just a book, right? So...
Sorry, I'm totally on mute. Sorry, this whole time. I was gonna say I do. My spellbook is 50, but maybe it's a fat one. It could be fat.
Yeah, it does say spellbook 50. So I may have gotten that from the book, so...
All right. So I guess my question is, do I immediately need to just offload a bunch of stuff, or can I hang on to this until we get back to town and then have...
So you're at 726.
I think
How
that's-
much of it is in your pack? Because like I was telling everybody last week, you can drop your pack during combat in order to increase your speed.
So like the thing is, a backpack has a capacity of 400 coins. So like that would only fit my chainmail.
Yeah.
And then everything else would be loose.
Yeah, good
So
point.
I'd have to ditch everything. And like I could ditch the chainmail because I think it's only like 50 coins or 100 coins, and trying to sell it, I could probably get like half that back.
And did we establish that no one else can use it or wants it?
I don't think anybody needs it.
Yeah, because Shadwell's got
They're all
better
good.
armor than... Or no, you have chainmail, right?
Yeah, I have chainmail.
Yeah.
Definitely would
And I-
like to purchase and upgrade at some point.
Like enchant it or just a whole different type?
I think the plate mail would be more appropriate for him.
Okay.
Can you just like introduce some homebrew thing like tempering, and you just pay a certain amount and that like lowers the weight by like a certain amount?
We could, yeah.
Well, I think they have like different levels of metal. Isn't like mithril a thing where it's lighter?
Yeah, that
Or
sounds
like
familiar. I'll have to
5e.
read it, but...
That might be
Yeah,
like,
but-
5e thing.
I mean, it should be, because you could make... I mean, the AC would stay the same, but then you could reduce the weight. Or maybe the AC would drop.
What's the
Yeah.
name of that super rare metal that's in here? Let me
Unobtainium.
see. Pellucidium.
Yeah, that's like elven silver.
Yeah, fairy silver.